This place brings so many beautiful, wonderful and warm emotions that I think that even the Snow Queen couldn't remain indifferent here. Dear friends, good evening. I'm Edgar and thanks for joining me today. In our previous video, we had a walk in Christmas Milan and I really hope you enjoyed it. Today instead, we are on the Lake Como. In Italy, there is a beautiful tradition to decorate all towns, villages and cities for Christmas and New Year. One could say there is even a competition between different towns to see who decorates their place better than everyone else. I really can't wait to show you all the Christmas lights and decorations, but first we are going to stop at the local Christmas market. This beautiful tradition of Christmas markets started in Germany almost 600 years ago. Originally, it was a way to provide citizens with food supplies for the coming winter, and especially to buy meat after a long period of fasting. It all changed with Martin Luther, after he said that Christmas is the most appropriate period for gift giving. And the Christmas, as we know it today, was born in that period. In Italy, the tradition of Christmas markets has been gaining popularity during recent years, and now you can find these markets in all major cities and towns of Italy. As I found out, this was the 28th edition of this Christmas fair in Como, and I've met merchants from Sicily, Puglia, Campania, Calabria, Piemonte, Tuscany, and many other regions of Italy. In addition to already internationally famous food like Sicilian cannoli, taralli from Puglia, porchetta, and many others, I've seen quite a few exotic items here that I've never seen before. Like for example this slinsega, which is a distant relative of Italian prosciutto. But unlike the famous Italian prosciutto, which is always made from pork, slinsega is made from beef. And here are lupins, distant relatives of beans from Puglia region. But my favorite part, by far, was the fact that every single vendor invites you to try his wares.
Signora, vuole assaggiare anche lei?
Sì. Tartufo io sì. Lei voleva assaggiare. Prego un assaggino, signori, prego.
Vuoi assaggiare? Vai!
Cosa abbiamo qua? Formaggi?
Formaggi, gorgonzola, qui davanti, qua. Ha visto qua?
Pips, pips.
Abbiamo anche da provare, eh? Bimbe, cosa li facciamo assaggiare?
Pistacchio.
Pistacchio, bimbo, sì. Oh, anche quello, come vuoi, pistacchio. È buono.
Non me la rovinare in microonde o robe del genere, eh?
Non ce l'ho nemmeno.
Meno male.
Here you can find the traditional warm spiced wine, and I even found apple wine, something I've never tried before, and it was actually quite good. And this vendor looks as if she stepped out from some magical story.
Che meraviglia! Ciao! Vi aspettiamo! Con le piante dell'aria! Dimmi tu basta. Ciao a tutti, buon anno! A qualcuno piace caldo? Che cosa? Il churros, signori, churros! Prego, signori, prego! Ciao! Cos'è, canale 5?
Assaggia la porchetta. È l'ora perfetta. This is the best pork in Italy.
Tesoro, mi dai il bigliettino per favore? Grazie buono!
Pistacchio che tu. Ma brava. Oh, guarda qua.
Buon Natale e vi auguro abbiate passato un buon anno anche quest'anno e sicuramente passerete un anno futuro migliore.
E buon Natale! Ciao!
Buon Natale a tutti.
After this pleasant stop at the Christmas market, we'll start our exploration of Christmas Como. Our first stop is Piazza Volta, named after Alessandro Volta, the inventor of the electrical battery and one of the most prominent historical figures born in Como. You can still find traces of Alessandro Volta's life all over the city. For example, not far from here you can still visit the medieval tower of Porta Nuova, where the scientist started doing his early experiments. The top of the tower was housing the very first lightning rod in all Italy. The local classical high school is also named after Alessandro Volta, because over 200 years ago he was the head of the institution and he was also teaching physics there. One of the major streets at the center of Como, leading to this square, is called Via Volta, and this is where the native house of the scientist is situated. So, as you can see, the history of the city is tightly connected with the name of the scientist, and now we arrived at the square bearing his name. Actually, the original name of the square was Piazza Lasca, named after one of the richest and most influential families in Como. Eventually it was renamed after Volta, and the statue of the scientist was erected by Pompeo Marchese, an apprentice of famous Canova. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 28th edition of this Christmas festival in Como, and it's called Città dei Balocchi, which literally means the city of toys. Everything in Como is illuminated, thanks to the Magic Light Festival, an extraordinary event that transforms Como into an enchanted world. Every year the lights and decorations are new and unique, and are never used again. And this year's edition is dedicated to Bruno Munari. Bruno Munari was an Italian artist, designer, and a children's book writer. He was one of the founders of tactile or kinesthetic learning, a learning style in which learning takes place by students by carrying out physical activities. The famous Spanish painter and sculptor Pablo Picasso called Bruno Munari the Leonardo of our times. So you might wonder, what does the Magic Light Festival and Bruno Munari have to do with each other? Well, this year's slideshow is actually based on the drawings of children from the primary school named after Bruno Munari. This is what one of the creators of the show, the architect Massimo Malacrida, has to say about this. Piazza Volta is historically a space that has welcomed children, so for this project I wanted the little ones to give life to the Christmas projections. During the autumn, I met the children and teachers and explained to them that the theme to be developed was that of the forest, with trees and animals as seen during the winter. The concept was to create these subjects in the style of Bruno Munari, whose name their school bears. The teachers liked the idea and created a project involving 75 children divided into 3 classes, and they began to draw trees and animals on black cardboard using white pastel, chalk, but also bleaching or cotton buds, explained the teachers. Once we finished, we handed them over to the architect Malacrida. The architect, together with his collaborators, composed the scenography that is now being projected on the buildings of Piazza Volta. It was surprising to see how each tree was different, creative, explained Malacrida, how the children with their expressiveness represented the classic fir trees, but also the baobabs and many animals, real and fantastic, that will come to life in a forest of fantasy that pays homage to Munari. Today, Volta Square, together with the nearby Mazzini Square, are one of the two main spots of the city's nightlife, with numerous cocktail bars, breweries and restaurants. Interestingly enough, despite its peaceful and serene position on the lake, Como is the first city in Italy on the concentration index of the entertainment premises, compared to the number of inhabitants under 30, beating Milan, Rome and Rimini. Como is the city on top of the ranking, and for every 100 inhabitants under 30, there are 7 bars, restaurants and clubs. So there is definitely no lack of dining or entertainment in Como, and what I personally liked is that it's all evenly distributed across the squares and streets. During Magic Light Festival, Piazza Volta becomes a favorite place of many locals and tourists when they want to take a photo of their friends and families. Colorful backgrounds created by bright projectors serve as beautiful backgrounds for photography for both children and grown-ups. During my evening in Como, I saw an invasion of these cute teddy bears everywhere. The locals told me that at the end of the Christmas period, the soft toys will be auctioned and the proceeds will be given to charity. They call it Villaggio delle Orsi, the village of bears. And now we'll say goodbye to beautiful Piazza Volta and we'll start heading towards the main square of Como and the cathedral. We'll continue our walk by taking one of the side streets leading to the cathedral and the main square, which is our final destination. And of course, wherever you go, you can't avoid meeting more bears, which I personally don't mind, because I think they fit the scenery perfectly. It's getting closer to the dinner time, and everyone is heading to their favorite restaurant, bar or pub. On my way to the cathedral, I've seen a lot of bars and restaurants with nice, original and interesting decorations. Everyone wants to distinguish himself from the others and to be part of the Christmas spirit. Since everyone was rushing for a dinner or aperitivo, I decided to do some culinary investigation and to find out what are the most popular dishes in Como. As it turned out, the most typical and traditional dish in Como is risotto con filetti di pesce persico. It's a special type of risotto with perch fish, freshly caught from the lake. Another very popular dish in Como and the surrounding areas is polenta uncia, which is a type of polenta prepared with butter, local cheese, garlic and sage. You would probably need to run a circle around the entire lake to burn off those calories, but it's definitely worth it. Next on the list of our Como food, and the one that attracted me probably the most, are pizzoccheri valtellinesi, originally coming from the Valtellina Valley, going all the way till Bormio and Livigno, two of the major ski resorts. Pizzoccheri is a type of pasta similar to tagliatelle, made from buckwheat flour and boiled together with chopped potatoes, Savoy cabbage and spiced with molten cheese, normally the Valtellina type of cheese, and butter. As for the sweets, there is a traditional Easter bread prepared with candied fruit and a twig of an olive tree, as a symbol of peace and luck for the future. And speaking of sweets, I absolutely have to show you this tree, created from 25 kilograms of sugar paste. And I also noticed a couple of bites on it. I've almost reached the main square and the cathedral when my attention got stolen by these absolutely fabulous creatures from some fairy tale. As I mentioned earlier, people here dedicate a lot of time and energy to create beautiful Christmas decorations, But this was probably one of my favorite spots. Staying next to these creatures made me feel as if I stepped into childhood for a few moments. And now I am saying goodbye to my new little friends, and I am finally going towards the cathedral. And here we finally are. After having visited the market, the Volta Square, and beautiful streets of Como, we are approaching the main square and the cathedral. One should remember that Christmas is first and foremost a Christian holiday, and there is no surprise that the biggest Christmas tree in Como town is right in front of the main cathedral. And we finally reached our final destination, La Piazza del Duomo, the square in front of the main cathedral. Here we find Broletto, a great example of medieval architecture, decorated with Gothic elements. Broletto used to be the seat of the town hall, then it was used as the theater, later as a state archive, and is currently home to art exhibitions. Broletto is flanked by a bell tower, used to call public meetings. Broletto is an ancient Italian word, probably deriving from Celtic languages. Its first meaning is little orchard or garden, hence the meaning field surrounded by a wall. Next to the Broletto we can see the beautiful Como Cathedral. It is considered to be the last Gothic cathedral in Italy, and it took almost 350 years to build. Besides a very important rose window, the cathedral also features two statues of Pliny the Elder and Pliny the Younger, two very famous natives of Como. Inside there is a very beautiful collection of tapestries from Ferrara, Florence and Brussels. One of the curiosities is the frog door. At one of the entrances you can see the sculpture of a small frog, which according to the legend recalls the level reached by the waters of Lake Como during a flood. If you ever come to Como, make sure to go see that frog, and I won't tell you the exact location to make it more fun. So I wish you happy frog hunting! Before coming here, I asked some of my friends, what comes to your mind when you hear the word Como? Among the answers I received were George Clooney's villa, magnificent views and beautiful houses, famous villa where James Bond and Star Wars movies were made, sunlit hills and elegant cypress trees. Honestly, I would add one more entry to this list. Como is a great place to meet Christmas and to fully enjoy the festive atmosphere. And of course our friendly teddy bears are waiting for us even in front of the Duomo. One interesting fact about Como is that despite the cold, most people are actually eating outside. This becomes possible thanks to the heating devices that people call fungi, or mushrooms. I've seen them before in other Italian towns, but never in such quantities. If I had to choose just one place and call it my favorite, this would be it. This house with red windows completely conquered me. And the final touch of magic was added by the moon, because it just so happened that on the evening when I went to Como, the moon was shining in the sky like a giant lantern. Well, my dear friends, our evening in Como is coming to an end. Let's take a last look at Piazza Duomo, and I would like to end this video with the words of Bruno Munari. Fantasy, invention and creativity think, but imagination sees. My dear friends, thank you so much for having joined me today. This has been a magical and wonderful walk, and on this beautiful square full of Christmas trees and lights, I would like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I will see you in my future travels. Bye!